World leaders at the G7 summit urged urgent and concrete action on climate change. U.S. President Barack Obama observed progress toward a new treaty to replace the Kyoto Protocol, the global agreement that expired in 2012.
We continue to make progress toward a strong global climate agreement this year in Paris. All the G7 countries have now put forward our post-2020 targets for reducing carbon emissions, and will continue to urge other significant emitters to do so as well.
Leaders affirmed the goal of keeping global temperatures from rising more than 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial times. Experts say that would prevent the most catastrophic impacts of climate change, like sea level rise and more severe droughts and storms. German Chancellor Angela Merkel said binding rules for emissions reductions must be at the heart of any new climate agreement.
The world does not have any binding rules at the moment, and therefore that must be a goal in Paris.
The G7 leaders also renewed a commitment to provide $100 billion a year, beginning in 2020, to help poorer nations adapt to climate change. Merkel said it's important to set this goal before the climate conference in Paris.
It is very important that we really set this goal before the climate conference in Paris, because many developing countries and small island nations will only be able to reach an agreement after Paris if we are committed to this goal.
Otherwise, she added, developing countries and small island nations would have difficulty accepting the agreement. Among other pledges from the G7 was one that would phase out fossil fuels by the end of the century. These were strong signals to negotiators meeting in Bonn, Germany. For a second week, representatives from nearly 200 countries are streamlining language for a new climate treaty. That's not an easy job, says Jennifer Morgan, director of the Global Climate Program for the World Resources Institute. She said via Skype, among other things, negotiators must clarify the goal to limit warming to no more than 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial times.
Is that a certain percentage of reduction of emissions? Is that a decarbonization of the economy? Is that a phase out of emissions? What is that? And that long-term goal hopefully can send a signal to investors about how they should make future business decisions.
Morgan is optimistic given renewed support from world leaders and says people must push their governments to do the right thing.
This is the time to engage. It's the final stretch.
Hopes are riding high that the new global climate treaty will put the brakes on rising emissions with a move toward cleaner energy for the planet. Rosanne Skirble, VOA News, Washington.